Hello, everyone, and welcome to the. Is this working? Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. And welcome to the Get the Christian Dating Game podcast. I'm just going live on Instagram, which is why I'm a little bit jerky right there. There we go. Awesome. So, hello, everyone. As I say, welcome to the Christian Dating Game podcast, which is the Meet More Single Christian Women edition. And today I'm basically going to doing a full deep dive on how to meet single Christian women. And we'll get into that in a moment. I want to thank the people who's already joining. I want to thank the people watching this recording as well in the future. I am drinking my lovely coffee this morning. As for everyone who doesn't know, I live in Indonesia. So even though if you're in America, it's probably evening for you. It's 8 a.m. in the morning for me, which is why I'm drinking coffee at this time. And I am drinking a West Javan honey anaerobic process from one of my favorite coffee roasters, which is called Kuslan's Coffee. They were the winner of the Indonesian Coffee Roasting Championship 2 years ago, and they came third in the world in 2023 as well. And it's actually pretty reasonably priced considering how good it is as well. And it's a very, very fruity, flavorful coffee, which West Javan coffee is very well known for. But I want to thank everyone who is already joining. I can see people coming in. Just a reminder that this is going to be live on Twitter, it's going to be live on YouTube, and it's live on Instagram. So whichever one of those platforms works best for you, maybe you're seeing this on Instagram. And I'll be honest, the actual Instagram live streaming service is not the most kind of intuitive. You can switch over and watch this on my YouTube channel or on my Twitter account as well. And they are better platforms. You can watch in the background if you're using your phone and stuff like that. But I don't mind. It's up to you. The other thing is that if you are on Instagram, if you send a comment on Instagram, it is kind of like separate to the streaming platform I have. So I might not see it. So I've got both of them up. But a reminder, this is my way to help serve you guys, right? I want to use this. I'm doing this every week. This is going to be a weekly thing that I'm doing where it's a way for me to give back to you guys, right? You get a chance to ask me questions, to pick my brain, to get kind of live insights in the way that I think about dating, the way that I can help you find a relationship with Christian women. So please ask me questions. Please interact with me. Please, chat, because it helps me better serve you and I can give you more personalized feedback, which is going to be more valuable for you guys. I really want to use this weekly podcast, this weekly edition of the Dating Game podcast, to really provide kind of like a service to you guys. That's really how I see this. This is a way for me to give back to you and to try and help you in the best ways that I can. So please, any questions you have, let me know. And if you have any questions leading up to these, because I'm going to be doing this every week, please feel free to email me, DM me. I haven't kind of pushed it as hard on my email list and my Twitter account for a specific reason this week, because I just wanted to have more focus. But I did get a couple of questions from my Instagram story last night that I will be tackling in one moment. But I can see more people joining. Thank you very much for coming and being here. Again, another reminder, this is live on Twitter, it's live on YouTube, and it's live on Instagram. Whichever platform works best for you, you can do it there. So let's get into it. Like, as you can see in the title of this live stream, this episode of the Christian Dating Game podcast is going to be aimed specifically at how you can meet more single Christian women, because I think this is possibly one of the most kind of pressing questions that men have. I always get this question all the time, like, how am I supposed to meet single Christian women when, I'm working all day? The girls at my church are either taken or, I don't want to make it awkward with them. I had a guy tell me a couple of weeks ago about how he, asked a girl out at church and it basically led to a big split in his friendship group and it got all awkward. So there's obviously a lot of natural reticence amongst guys to do that, because there can be social consequences to approaching dating and approaching meeting women in the wrong way. So I fully get that. I fully understand that, which is why I'm going to be sharing today a lot about solving this specific problem, how to meet more women. So on this line, I was asked this question on Instagram. So I want to read out this gentleman's question that he gave me. He asked, where to find high quality women other than church or relying on mutual friends and school/work? Now, that is the key question, right? Like, especially as you get older and your friends begin to settle down, drift apart, not, you naturally, I've found in my life that your friendship group kind of, tapers in as you get older, and also filters through. Like, I'm not as close with my friends who are not in good relationships or in relationships and not yet have had kids, because we're at different stages of life and we kind of have different focuses and different aims that we're putting our energy into, and that's just a natural process. You're going to, birds of a feather flock together, like attracts like. And when you are kind of behind the curve compared to your friendship group, you're going to naturally find that friendship group dwindle, and the opportunities dating wise will follow course. Because to be quite honest, dating and dating success is always downstream of social life and social success. So if you've not got an active social life that's really giving you all kinds of opportunities, it's going to be difficult to meet women, actually. So when this gentleman is talking about where can you meet women other than church and relying on mutual friends and school/work, it all comes down to building a strategy that builds out your social life, okay? Because from your social opportunities are going to come opportunities with women. So before I really give a way to do that, I want to have a quick reminder that you only need to meet one woman, right? You should, hopefully. I mean, you only actually need to meet one woman to get a successful relationship. It's a very, very low, it's a very zero-sum game in some regards, but you can spend a lot of time waiting for that one opportunity, but you need to remain focused that you only need that one opportunity, and you don't know when, where, or how it will happen. I'll give the example of how I met my wife. I met my wife in a lobby of a hostel in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. And I never imagined in a million years that would be the place where I met my wife. But I was looking and I was out there and I was connecting with people. Part of the reason I went traveling in the first place was partly I wanted to push away from my lifestyle, that I was a heavy drinker. I was partying a lot. I wasn't yet Christian at that point. And I kind of decided that I needed to push away from that. And I was struggling to do that in the environment I was in England. And the other side of it is, like, I always knew I wanted to have a family and I wanted to have kids, and I kind of understood that I wasn't able to do that if I wasn't, meeting more women. And I was always on the lookout for potential opportunities while I was traveling. But when I was traveling, what that did is it created a social environment where I was meeting new people, I was meeting new women, I was doing fun things and kind of doing impromptu dates, which is something I'll talk about later on, kind of as and when I was going through that. But I never expected to meet an Indonesian woman in a Malaysian hostel, and that would be the one I married. I always planned to go back to England. I never planned to settle in Asia, but that's how things work. So you need to remember, you have to focus on creating opportunities to find that one opportunity with the woman that matters. And this actually also happened to one of my clients this week, who is not yet in a relationship, but in the past 2 weeks, it was actually the end of our last call together. He had spent 12 weeks of our time working together, focusing in on improving his skills, building out a strategy to meet women, all the stuff that surrounds that. And he'd had many dates and none of them had gone anywhere particularly well. But then this week, our last week together, he met a woman. He's like, this one feels like it has legs, right? And we kind of put together a strategy for him to best capitalize that and give it the best opportunity of making it a relationship. Obviously, you can't say for sure, but based on what he told me, there are, you know, cues and things that I look for in my clients that is like, okay, that's a good sign that this has real potential. And I can generally tell that pretty quickly. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get married, but I'm not someone who believes you. Like, I can always tell when someone's taking a relationship seriously, when the woman is. And she's definitely that. And they have enough chemistry and connection. They've got a real shot at making it work. Whether or not they do is another matter. So the reason I tell you this is a reminder that you have to just stick to the process and stay open to opportunities wherever they may be. Now, in terms of meeting women other than church, as I said, often church can be, you know, it can be a great place to meet women, but it can also be fraught with risk. There's social ties in those situations. There's, you know, women who are taken more often than not as well. And you want to be worried about, you know, creating awkward, uncomfortable situations within the church. And then relying on mutual friends and school/work kind of leaves you with no agency in the process, right? If you're relying on friends to introduce you, you're not the one who's actually pushing forward and creating opportunities, which is, it leaves it out of your hands as a very passive way. And we don't want to do that. So we need to create a cohesive strategy for meeting more women on a kind of short, medium, and long-term basis. We want to have this kind of richness and this depth of opportunities to create consistent opportunities as they go forward. And this is what I create with all my clients. I call this the Get More Dates Action Plan. Excuse me while I take a sip of coffee. But this Get More Dates Action Plan is something I work out very quickly, first call or two with my clients. And it has to be personalized to them and personalized to you. But it takes this three-pronged approach. Like, how can we meet more women tomorrow? Right? That serves a lot of purpose. It boosts confidence. It gives you opportunities to practice skills. It gives you, you know, immediate results that shows like, oh, okay, actually meeting women is not as difficult as perhaps I thought it was. But then we also want to take a medium-term approach, which is, okay, meet women in the next month, right? So remember, we're only looking out for that one opportunity, but we don't know when it comes, and it's probably not going to come in the next week or two, generally. So whilst we want to immediately get those opportunities, we also want to be thinking, okay, in a month's time, how am I then going to be meeting women at that point if I stick to this strategy? And there's a way of doing this. I'm going to explain all this in a moment. So just bear with me. I'm just giving a big picture at the moment. And then we also want to have a long-term strategy, which is how am I going to meet more Christian women in 6 months to a year, right? Because we are looking for one person, but we're looking for one high-quality person. We're not looking to just get dates constantly for the sake of dating. Dates lead to relationships. You cannot find a relationship if you're not getting dates. Okay. Some people talk about, you know, you just need to work on yourself and just improve yourself. And it's like, yes, you need to be doing that, but it needs to be coupled with actually meeting women and getting dates with women. Otherwise, you're kind of, and you can get demoralized. Like, dating in and of itself is quite a demoralizing process because it is very zero sum. One of the main things I do with my clients is to keep them on a level footing and keep them positive and keep them kind of feeling like, okay, there's, you know, it's not all bad. This is the good things to take. This is the bad things to take. I just want to say thank you for all the people who joined me in the past kind of minute or two as well. A bunch of people just joined in the past couple of minutes. Just a reminder, this is my opportunity to serve you. Let's do this two-way. Please ask me questions. Like, this is your chance to connect with me on a personal level, you know, without having to, you know, work with me. You get this for free. Like, take advantage of this. I'm a resource. You know, I've been doing this for years. I'm very successful at what I do. Ask me questions, please. You've got this opportunity. Take it. And also, you know, just a reminder, this is going live on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Use whichever one of those platforms best suits you. to continue watching if you want to watch this in the background or you do something, which I do a lot. So the final thing is, the long term, how can we get those results in the future? So we want to have this 3-leveled approach, and I call this the trident. Okay. This is what I teach all my clients, and it basically creates that get more dates action plan. So what can we do in the short term to meet more single Christian women? Well, there's 2 things. The first is what I call pulling the thread. Now, talking to women is a lot like pulling a loose piece of thread on your clothing, which is sometimes you're going to, you have this opportunity, you pull that thread and it pulls straight out. It's not going to go anywhere. She's not interested in you. She's already got a relationship. By the way, sometimes girls won't be interested in you, even if you're interested in them. It happens, even if you're the most attractive man in the world. You connect with better. That's just part of it. You're never going to avoid that. You're never going to get 100% success rate. Sometimes she's got a boyfriend. Sometimes she's just in a bad mood that day and doesn't want to talk to you, or something's going on in her life and she doesn't want to be connecting with guys. It happens, no worries. But sometimes a girl will be single, she'll be attracted to you, she'll be open to a connection, and you have to be able to pull that thread to its logical conclusion, whether that is getting her number, whether it's just a quick 5-minute flirtatious interaction, or whether it is going on an instant date, which I'm going to talk about later on in this as well, how to do that and what that is. These are all things that you can do if you are flirting with the world, which is this vibe of you need to, as a man, be penetrating everything around you with your masculinity. You must have this curiosity, which is like all encompassing, and people can't avoid and ignore that energy, where they just need to kind of, they can feel that you're just interested in everything and you're going around and you're taking these opportunities wherever they go, with men and women. And that's going to provide you opportunities wherever you go. You'll occasionally hear, people say, other dating coaches say things like, how to meet women, go to a farmer's market. And it's like, yeah, this is one of those places where you would be able to pull the thread. Is it a farmer's market? Is it a coffee shop? But those locations in and of themselves are not great places to meet women unless you have that mindset around it and you have kind of a more broad picture stroke of how you're going to meet women. Because yes, there are women at a farmer's market. Yes, there are going to be women who are probably more suited to the kind of women you want to spend your life with. But then what do you do? Right? How do you pull that thread? How do you build that connection? How do you actually transition that? You're not going to, and I'll be honest, these are like the lowest probability chances of meeting your wife, but they provide confidence, they provide opportunities, and they provide the skill set that makes other ways more common. And this is something you can do immediately to try and meet more women. The other thing in the short term, which can get you a date this very week and get you meeting women this week, tomorrow, is to use online dating, but to do it right. Now, this is something that some guys have reticence about, or, the online dating process can be, again, pretty demoralizing and pretty dejecting because of the nature of dating and the nature of it. You need that one successful opportunity. So those 30, 40 unsuccessful opportunities can be demoralizing. But honestly, most people don't like online dating because they're not good at it. As simple as that. It's like anything. You're not good at it. You're not getting success with it. You don't like it. I had a client who got 12 dates over the course of like 14, 15 weeks. And like 90% of those dates were from online dating. I've got a current client who is using online dating, who's been averaging about 2 or 3 dates a week in the past 5-6 weeks that we've been working together. He's also 5'5", by the way. So don't buy into this like, oh, you got to put your height on there, therefore short people can't be successful. No, you just suck at using online dating. You're not using it right. You don't have a well-designed profile. You don't have good prompts, good pictures, and you're not able to build out connections through messaging. You're not sending good first messages that are going to get a response. And that's why you find online dating dejecting. It's because you're not getting success. If you use it in the right way, it's a fantastic tool. It's so easy. It's something that you should use not as a replacement for the other things I'm going to talk about, but it should be something that is an addendum. We want a layered approach to meeting women. You need to have a layered approach. Can't just be relying on this one thing, What if that one thing doesn't work? What if in the next month you don't meet someone using these short-term tactics I'm telling you right now? That's why we need something that's going to start delivering connections in a month and in 6 months, which I'll explain to you in a moment. You need this layered strategy. This is why so many of my clients end up in relationships. I'm not just telling them to go out and approach women, right? There's so much more to a good dating strategy than that. It has to be layered. It has to be rich. It has to be developed. And nothing compares to my program at this point that I've seen from other people, particularly Christian dating programs, by the way. They're pretty terrible in general. So, and part of this, part of using the online dating as well, is there are Christian dating apps you can use, but it's also within, standard dating profiles like dating apps like Hinge and Bumble and the rest of them. You can create a profile that targets and polarizes Christian women. And you need to be doing that. And this is something I do with all my clients. So they're the short-term things that you can do. The medium-term things you can do, how am I going to meet a woman in a month, a single Christian woman in a month, is by taking a targeted approach, whereby you have to figure out who you are, what you want from life, and what kind of woman suits that. And then you've got to reverse engineer what kind of locations will these be in, and you go to those locations and you create connections, like using the pull thread technique. You create connections in those locations to potentially meet women in the next month or two. Now, this can be things like small groups. This can be things like volunteering, dance classes, all these kind of locations where you're going to be meeting the same people every week. Going to a coffee shop, it's going to be different people in there every time. There's a transient nature to it. You have to take those opportunities because the opportunity window is very short in those locations, in the short-term ones I talked about. In these places, you can be a lot more strategic, and it's less pressured, and you can build those connections a little bit over time at that point. So this is, you have to figure out what you want, who you want, and then get some locations to go to those. And then you're building connections there. Now, this is how one of my clients, Andrew, met his wife. His girlfriend. They're not married. They're not engaged actually either. But he met his girlfriend, who he's been in a relationship with at this point, probably coming up to a year. It was by going into one of these locations. It was a small group that he was not a part of. And over the course of 2 months, he built a connection with a girl there. He asked her out on a date, and they've been dating ever since. So that's how you can meet women in the medium term. Now, in the long term, we want to be building out social networks where you are, going to these locations, but then befriending people, befriending the men there, befriending the women there. Maybe there's no sexual chemistry. That's okay. We become friends with them, and then we connect with them, and we get access to their friendship group. And one of my clients who I've just recorded a video with, recounting his experience of the dynastic dating program. I'll probably release that probably next week. Still got to edit it. This is how he met his now girlfriend. And he'd never had a girlfriend before. He'd never had much success dating before, but he went into running classes and also a couple of other locations. I believe one was a dance class. I forget now. But in that running club, he became friends with the running club owner. He became friends with a couple of other guys there. He became good friends with them, and they started inviting him to parties and events and social groups. And in one of those social settings, he met his now girlfriend. And that was I think a year after we worked together. So, and in that time, he'd been on 24 dates or something. I forget the exact number, but he'd been on a lot of dates until he met this woman. And that's why you need that short, medium, and long-term approach, because you never know when you're going to meet the right one. And we're looking for the right one. We're looking for a good woman, a woman we want to spend our life with. And if we're not thinking in terms of like long-term plans, you're not going to meet her. You need this layered approach. Now, partly in amongst this, there is an element of skill, of course, but it's also strategy. Without a strategy like this, which leads to consistent dates, you're going to lack the confidence and that abundance mentality, which will lead to a relationship. When you're only getting one date every 6 months, you put so much weight and pressure on getting that date right. Okay, there's so much, it's like, I need to get this right. If I don't get this right, I'm screwed. What if she's the one? Whereas, and this was the guy I mentioned, the 5'5" guy, this was the problem he was having. He had a real challenge that he wasn't getting dates that often. So he was really over investing in those dates. And that meant the dates didn't go as well. And he wasn't getting success, which is why he reached out to me and decided to start working with me. Now, this past week, in the past 2 weeks, he went on 4 dates. We'll skip one in the first week. And then one last week was a girl he really, really liked. He really liked her. It went pretty well, he felt. But at the end of the date, he was kind of left with this kind of lingering doubt in the sense of it. And he's like, something was not quite right there. I feel like something was a little bit off. It didn't quite go the way that I thought it should have, and I felt it was, and maybe I had a wrong sense of it. And he reached out to her after the date, and she messaged him and said, like, actually, I think the next day, like, I don't see this going anywhere. And normally that would lead him to feel dejected. He'd feel frustrated, like, I've lost another opportunity. Where am I going to meet this woman? Because when I got this date, it went wrong. But instead, he got two more dates lined up within the next week. One of those with a woman he definitely doesn't want to date. Didn't know that until he met her, and he had fun on that day. But it's like, wow, she's definitely not someone that I want to marry. And the other one went really, really well, and he's arranging a second date with her because he also learned from what he did wrong in the first date. So this is how getting consistent dates really helps you. Okay, if you're getting consistent dates, it allows you to have that confidence that when things go wrong, you don't get dejected, and you actually act better on the dates you're on as well, because you're not as invested in their success. And this abundance and this confidence is so valuable. Now, I am currently in the process of running. So this Sunday, I am going to be running a workshop called the Get More Dates, your 60-minute solution to meeting single Christian women, where I am actually going to be building out this Get More Dates action plan for everyone who's going to be in that workshop. So I'm going to be explaining all the things that I've just told you in like much more detail, in kind of fine print of like, how do you actually do this? How do you actually start those connections? How do you actually set up your online profile? That means you're going to be connecting with women. How do you send the first message? That means women are going to want to respond to you. And, how do you arrange a date with women? How do you start conversations? What are the best locations? I'm going to be sharing 42 proven locations that my clients have used to get dates and meet their girlfriends. And then how do we actually build that out for you? Because what location works for you will be different from a location that works for another man, because it has to be built with you in mind. So I'm going to be sharing all this and a whole lot more in that workshop. And everyone who leaves that workshop is going to leave with a personalized Get More Dates action plan. You're going to have this strategy I've just built out for you personally, with the details of how to put it into practice. I'm also going to be giving a free 30-minute consultation to everyone who joins this workshop to put that into practice, where you can talk with me one-on-one, and you already have the action plan that we'll have built out together. During the workshop, I will guide you in how to build it out more realistically. And then we will sit down and we'll have a 30-minute consultation afterwards, after that workshop, at your pleasure, to actually kind of refine that, put it into practice, and how you can actually, make this work. Now, this workshop is only $97. It's the cheapest investment you'll ever have to get a slice of my program. There's no other way you'll get a cheaper, a cheaper way to get some of the dynastic dating program than this. And if this is something that you're interested in joining, if you're on Instagram, there is going to be a link to it in my story. So there is a story link there which will show you how to find, how to get access to it. If you're on YouTube, in the description there will be a link to it as well. And if you're watching this on Twitter, I'm just about to drop a link to it under this very broadcast, which I'm about to do right now. As I type it out. So I'm going to drop a link to that right there. And as I say, and I've just done that. So this is the cheapest way and the only way that you will actually get a very low risk investment into my program. And if you struggle to get dates, or you feel like getting dates is more a matter of kind of luck than skill, you're worried that you don't know how you're actually going to meet more women in the future, you fear that you don't know how you're going to get that marriage, that relationship that you want, I really, really recommend you get this, because, not everyone is in position to do one-on-one coaching with me. I'm actually not taking clients at the moment anyway, because I have a full client roster. And this is just, another way for me to give back to you in a very low investment way. So you will get your Get More Dates action plan. You will leave the workshop with that. You're also going to get an idea of how to build out a social profile. I'm also going to be sending over some of my coaching material I send to all my clients as part of that for free, as a bonus as well. And you can see all that on that link to Gumroad. So I really recommend checking this out. It's only $97. And this is the lowest investment you'll ever get to get a slice of my program to help you find a relationship and to meet more women. So I've linked it under the Twitter account. It's in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, and it's in my story if you are watching this on Instagram. So I would really, really recommend that if you want to, all the things that I have shared with you today, and actually just build that out personally for you in granular detail for $97. I mean, you won't get a better deal than that, to be quite honest. But yeah, so I just want to see a bunch of people have just joined as well. Maybe they're interested in this. Maybe it's just bumped it up on the Twitter algorithm. I don't know. But so far, guys, we've talked about how you can meet more women and how you need that 3-layered trident approach, which is, how am I going to meet women tomorrow, right? What can I do right now to meet more women? That's pulling the thread and using online dating in the right way to connect with women. How can I meet women in the medium term? How can I meet a woman next month? That is, take a targeted approach where we're going to target specific locations and build out connections there a little bit more slowly without the time pressure that is in a connection in a coffee shop or a farmer's market or anywhere else. And then we have to have that long-term strategy of, how am I going to meet single Christian women in 6 months' time, a year's time, and how to build out the social networks in the right way that will deliver those opportunities. And I will build out your personalized Get More Dates action plan if you join the Get More Dates, your 60-minute solution to meeting single Christian women workshop, which I have linked in the description box on YouTube, in my Instagram story, and under this video, under this stream on Twitter. It's in the thread on Twitter. Now, I'm curious, guys, has anybody got any questions for me? Have you got anything that I've talked about that you would like me to dig into in more detail? Have you just got any more questions about Christian dating that you would like me to answer? Please, let me know here. You've got the chance to comment on YouTube. You've got the chance to comment on Twitter. You've got the chance to comment on Instagram. I only have one more question that someone gave me that I would like to tackle. And, we've got, another 25 minutes that we could potentially fill here. We don't have to use all the time. But, you know, this is your opportunity to really ask me like what you would like to know. This is your opportunity to help me serve you. You know, you've got me as a resource live here. I'm someone who helps guys do this all the time. You know, like, hey, if you have any questions, drop them below and I'll answer them. If not, maybe we'll tackle one more thing that was a question that I got from somebody else. This was also given to me on Instagram. They basically just asked me, do I do one-on-one coaching? People who've been following me on Instagram haven't been following me as long. I'm new on that platform. I was on it for a while, but I stopped using it. By the way, if you're on Twitter, you're on YouTube watching this, I am pumping a lot of good, high quality content out on Instagram at the moment. I'm looking to grow there as a result of the pretty terrible Twitter algorithm these days. It's just impossible to get any traction, or at least for me. I know other people are getting success, but so I'm switching focus over there. I'm not going to abandon Twitter, but I'm putting out a lot of much more valuable content, the kind of stuff that I used to put on Twitter threads, I'm now putting on Instagram. Okay, so I would really recommend following me there as well. You're going to get different content to the content that I'm putting on Twitter. Now, Yankee with no brim has asked this question. Thank you so much for the question, Yankee, which I'll answer now, which is, do you feel that Catholic/Christian young adult groups are a more competitive dating environment? Well, it's actually a really good question because there's a couple of different angles that I can go on here. The first of which is kind of the idea of dating as competition, where dating is inherently competitive. There is, as I talked about earlier on, there is a zero-sum kind of nature to dating where it is kind of you kind of lose until you win, which is when you meet the right person and you manage to get that into a relationship. This is one of the challenges of dating. And any environment where there's going to be a group of men and a group of women, there is going to have an element of that kind of competition. Whether this is in a nightclub as a secular person, whether this is in a dance class, or whether this is in a Catholic/Christian young adults group, yes, there's going to be an element of competition there. The thing about that is we don't want to fear that. Okay, we don't want to see that as a bad thing. We have to understand that that is just part of the reality of what we're facing, which is, yes, there is going to be an element of competition there. And that just means that we have to be on our A game and we have to be able to not get dejected when that happens. So when someone comes in and, there's a couple of guys. Now, the other thing about, Christian and Catholic young adults groups is the competition level tends to be quite low. One of the benefits of developing good dating skills as a Christian is that you become a big fish in a pretty big pond, where it's like you will stand up and above your competition like very, very highly, because the way that Christians approach dating as a whole, or the discourse around Christian or Catholic dating, is quite poor. I've talked about this on previous podcasts. I've talked about this at length on my newsletter. I've talked this, by the way, if you're not on my newsletter, I'd highly recommend getting on it. You get a couple of free guides. There's links in my bio on every platform. I give a lot of tips to help you gain those kind of skills in that setting there. But yes, they are a lot more of a competitive environment, but that's not a bad thing, because what that means is that this is a dating environment. The reason why nightclubs, the reason why dance classes, the reason why young adult groups are more competitive is people understand, based on the cultural context, that there is a potential for dating here, right? So that actually means when there's that element of competition, that means people are open to seeing this as a dating platform, or a dating venue. It's probably a better way to see this. So this is not something that you should look down on. We're not looking like, we don't want to go to a place that makes it easy, right? We're not looking for an easy option. We are looking for the opportunity. Obviously, we don't want to make it more difficult than it needs to be. Like we don't, we don't need, like, this is the thing. This is why I won't ever go out and tell guys, like, you need to be approaching women. Like, there's a very high skill set and a high skill ceiling, there's a high skill floor as well required for kind of like cold approaches. That's why I never talk about it. That, like, the actual value of going out and doing instant connections is not in actually getting a relationship. It's in the skill set you develop, that it becomes much easier in these kind of environments where there's already a bit of social proof. You already kind of know people. There's more of this is a dating context. So we don't want to shy away from competitive environments. Now, what we want to do is we want to position ourselves within those environments that allows us to stand out and allows us to connect with women. And a big part of that will be how you them. If you're not communicating well within those environments, then yes, like, other guys will be successful over you. But if you communicate well, it doesn't matter if another guy is also communicating well, because there will also be a natural chemistry that you will have with certain women, right? And this is something that is also really, really important to remember. Certain women you will resonate better with. And as long as you are going into those environments and putting your best foot forward, you will succeed, because there will be women who resonate with you. And as long as you are doing that, like, it doesn't matter if you didn't connect with the other three, right? This is what I'm talking about. You only need that one connection. You only need to meet one woman. And as long as you've got a cohesive strategy, that means you are connecting with women and you're putting your best foot forward, half of dating success is just not making mistakes. Again, this is something that I talk about pretty regularly with clients. I've probably talked about it in these podcasts. Like, half of dating success is just not making mistakes when you're in these environments. And if you can just do that, you'll be set. Of course, you don't want to rely on one young adult group. You don't want to rely on one venue. You don't want to rely on one aspect, full stop. Because if things don't work out, then you're going to be struggling. Because if you again, it's kind of the same, like, you're not getting enough dates. It's like you're almost putting too much weight on that one situation, right? And if that venue doesn't play out, then you kind of feel dejected. Yeah, it's really important. It's really important to remember, because it's part of the reason why dating can get dejecting, right? Because there is just an element of you just fail more than you succeed, which is why you need to focus in on those small wins, why you need to have kind of like, it's one of the values of having someone like me in your corner is I can keep you focused on, like, look at this big picture. I know this date didn't go great, or this situation didn't go how you wanted it to, but look at what you've actually done overall. Look at the dates you've been on. Look at the connections you're getting. Look at the opportunities that are coming out of this. So just staying focused on that and keeping that framework and the right mindset in regard is so, so important. And here's Never Married Dating.com. Hi, everyone. So hello, thank you for joining us. And I want to say thank you for everyone who is at home. This has been by far the most watched stream that I've had so far. Over every single, over every single platform that I'm on, there's actually quite a few people watching this, which is pretty good. So I appreciate you all joining you. And just a reminder, this I'm doing every Thursday, 9 p.m. EST. And this is your chance, like, this is my chance to give back to you. Right? What questions do you want answered? What are the things that you want to know? What are the burning questions that are causing you issues? You can ask me directly on this stream every week, and I'll do my best to answer it in the way that I can. And you can, if you want to send these questions anonymously, even, obviously your account is anonymous, can be anonymous. You can just DM them to me. You can email me. You can, comment on the stories that I put on Instagram as well. That means I will answer those questions in an anonymous fashion as well. Because I understand there is a little bit of, sometimes embarrassment about needing help with women. But guys, if that is you, every man has problems with women to some degree. Even me, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes within my marriage at times. I do a lot better now than I did 5, 6 years ago, but that's still going to happen. Sometimes you need to get advice. Every person has had struggles dating at some point in their life because it's challenging today. There's a level of complexity that wasn't there 60, 70 years ago, but we can't bemoan that level of complexity. We don't want to we don't want to bemoan that. We don't want to kind of just let that become something that causes us to deject and kind of pull away from the dating world. We just have to adapt to the challenges we're facing. And one of the best ways you can adapt to those challenges is by creating a cohesive dating strategy that's going to give you consistent dates and consistent opportunities with Christian women. And as I say, I'm going to be running a workshop on Sunday, which is the Get More Dates, your 60-minute solution to meeting more Christian women, meeting single Christian women, that will give you a personalized, tangible, Get More Dates action plan. Everyone who joins will leave with that. You'll also get a 30-minute consultation with me for free. That means you'll be able to put that action plan into practice, or a week or two later, we can see how you've managed that and what adjustments you need to make to actually make that successful. So you're going to have like direct one-on-one conversation with me about making that successful. We're also going to show you how to start conversations, how to set up your online dating profile, to screen for Christian women, whether it's on a Christian dating app or a secular dating app, how to message in a way that means you're going to be able to arrange dates, how to arrange dates, how to do instant dates as well, which is something that I've talked about and I will talk about in a moment because I said I was going to mention it and I haven't. And all this is going to be just one-off investment of $97. Like, this is going to be the lowest investment you'll ever get to get access to my program in some form. There's a link in the description box on YouTube. There's a link under this on Twitter and in my story on Instagram. And I just really recommend, if you're serious about wanting to find a relationship and you want to create an action plan that you can immediately apply, personalized to you, to meet more Christian women so that you can find a relationship, I wholeheartedly recommend joining this. I'm currently not taking on new clients at the moment because my client roster is full. So this is one way you can get a slice of that. So instant dates. I'm going to talk about instant dates because I've mentioned it 2 or 3 times on this live stream and I haven't talked about it, and then we'll close up. So instant dates are something which I did a lot of when I was traveling. So I would meet someone, people were free and easy. No one was working, obviously, because they were traveling. I would meet a girl and we'd chat a little bit and I'd be like, hey, let's go do this. And we'd go and do it. And it wasn't a date, but you could transition it into one very easily with the right chemistry building techniques and the right kind of mentality behind that. And this is something that you can do whether or not you are traveling. If you meet a girl in a farmer's market, like we talked about before, you can say, you can do a little thing like, hey, you want to build chemistry before you do this. And there's a way to do that. I'm going to talk about that also in the workshop. You want to build a little bit of chemistry, and they say, hey, like, what are you looking to buy here? Like, what are you looking to get? They say, oh, actually one thing I'm really looking for is some honey, right? Oh, tell you what, I know a really great place to get some, like, there's this farmer over here, or you can just say, hey, why don't we look for that together? And then suddenly you're spending way more time with this woman, like in almost a dating setting, just based on meeting her a minute or two before and approaching it in the right way. And just, one of the key to there's 4 stages to every approach, and they also go backwards. There's starting the conversation, there's building chemistry, sexual chemistry, then there's building security so that she feels comfortable with you, and then you escalate in some way. And this is a very easy escalation that if you've already built that chemistry and that chemistry is already there, that you can get immediate dates, and then getting a number, getting a real date is so much easier after that. And there's a bit more to it. Again, I'm going to break this down exactly how you can do this strategically within this workshop as well, because it's all about meeting Christian women in every setting. I'm not just going to tell you 42 locations and leave it at that. I am going to tell you 42 locations where my clients have met women. where they've either gone dates or got into a relationship with them. But I'm also going to give you the way and the means to put that strategy into practice. Most other dating coaches, they'll just tell you, go to a farmer's market, go to a coffee shop, go to a dance class. But they don't tell you what you have to do in those locations. How do you actually create a strategy that means you're actually going to get success there? So you're not just stood there looking like a schmuck. Like this is what you're going to get if you do join the workshop. But instant dates are something that are surprisingly easy, that are a really overlooked tool in a dating arsenal. And it's something that you should be able to do when you get a little bit of confidence with women and you're meeting women. Again, if you're every week starting flirtatious conversations with 5 or 6 women, you're going to feel more comfortable about taking a risk with 2 or 3 of them and asking their number and asking them to go on an instant date. And if you have the right strategy and you have a framework for doing that creates success, you're also going to feel a lot more confident about doing that as well. Vicarious confidence is something not to be overlooked, wherein having an actual, especially if you're a logical man who gets value out of kind of knowing the why behind things, having that why can be one of the most important and valuable things that you can actually do to find success while watching it, while going through the dating process. So I really, really recommend if you feel like you rarely get dates, you feel like you don't know where you're going to meet your wife, if you feel like you're worried about whether it'll even happen because you're not getting those opportunities and you want more dates, you want more connections, you want more opportunities with women, and you want to know how to start conversations, what locations to go, if you want a personalized get more dates action plan, and also know how to present yourself as a husband so they feel that sexual chemistry, how to identify if women are single, and so much more. You can get all this plus a free 30-minute one-on-one consultation with me if you join the Get More Dates, your 60-minute solution to meeting single Christian women, the workshop that I'm going to be running this Sunday at 9 p.m. Now, don't worry if you can't make the workshop live. You'll receive the recording, you'll receive all the material. The only thing you'll lose is just a live Q&A section at the end of the workshop. That's it. Everything else you'll get the action plan, you'll get the way to build out that action plan while you're watching the recording, and then you will also get that free consultation with me to put it into practice. So this is the lowest investment you'll ever get to get some part of the dynastic dating system. And if you're serious about getting married, like if you're not even willing to invest $97 into meeting the woman to spend the rest of your life with, you got to question where your priorities do actually lie, because it's not a huge amount of money. I can understand not wanting to spend thousands of dollars on a coaching program. This is not thousands of dollars. This is 97. It's less than the cost of a dinner date with a girl. And you can find the link to that in the YouTube description box under this Twitter live stream. It's in the thread or in my Instagram story if you are watching this on Instagram. And I just really wholeheartedly recommend that. But I want to thank you guys and thank everyone who's watched this, who's joined this live. Thank you for the guys who asked questions, who left comments. Ultimately, this is about how I can serve you. The Get More Dates workshop is a way for me to serve you. It's a way for me to give you a low cost, a low investment way to get more success with women so that you can get more dates. Like ultimately, I want you guys to find a relationship. That's why I do this. This live Q&A is when this, the Dating Game podcast, this live stream is a way for me to give back to you, both through you asking questions and me answering them in the best of my ability, but also giving you a one-on-one chance to really kind of see me talk, see how I am, and see how I think about dating in the world. This is something I'll be doing every week. And I just want to thank you all for joining me, whether you're joining me live, whether you join me on Twitter, whether you're joining me on YouTube, whether you're joining me on Instagram, or whether you are watching the recording. Just thank you for taking the time to watch this. I hope you got a lot out of it. And hopefully I will see you in the workshop and I'll be able to help you get the kind of relationship you want and meet the kind of women you want so that you can ultimately get married. We can strengthen the church and we can build a more, and help change the narrative around dating within Christian circles, which is very, very, very poor. Thank you very much. I really appreciate those kind words here. And I will see you all in the next one. God bless, and I'll see you very, very soon.